I popped off. I said, get your James out of my face. Like it almost seems like on purpose they're beating the sheep.
Hey friends, this is the Next Level Glam podcast, and I'm Glam Gal. Thank you for joining me as I discuss all things transformation inside and out with my sisters in Christ. Pull up a chair, it's about to go next level.
Hey sis, welcome back to the Next Level Glam podcast. I'm Glam Gal, your host. Isn't it just delightful that I'm noticing that the minute I took that burden of showing up weekly for you guys, I actually have more of a sense of freedom to speak more. So I released the episode the other day. I definitely didn't see the release of these episodes happening this way, but here I am again as a homeschool mom, guys, with a one car family. There's a lot of pressure for me when you look at the calendar at the beginning of the month because you want to get your kid, out there. But really, the Lord promises to give us all we need. That includes my daughter's, provisions for homeschooling, all of that. And God is so good where, like, she got a phone call from her cousin who was like, hey, you want to go bowling? And there she goes out to bowl with her friends. And then it left me with a little time this afternoon to talk about a little something that happened when I popped off the other day on social media. Right after making that last episode about not getting entangled into emotional stuff, it's spiritual bait to get you in your emotions and fight in your flesh, right? It was an emotional response from me. I have had this person on my Facebook forever. I've known her for a very long time. And it's just literally been years and years of posts. And I think I've mentioned this before too on this podcast, which is probably when God was really starting to urge me to block this person, unfollow them so I'm not beaten basically. Because the Mark and Avoid episode, I brought you up to pace about the last interaction I had with Big Pam across the street, right? And my body had a physical reaction to confronting this presence. This had a spiritual dimension to it. That's how I felt yesterday. I saw this lady post again, and of course, it's always James. It's like, get your James out of my face. People use James to come against the grace of God. That's the book where everyone says, like, faith without works is dead. And it's just such a mixture. It's a book that can present some trouble, which is why our brother in Christ, David Benjamin, Christians Need the Gospel on YouTube, he does a series on this to kind of help expand your mind, understand why James is in the Bible, why it presents trouble and how to handle it and how to look at it. And honestly, it's something where people literally will put James and what it says about everything over the gospel, the grace of God that's supported all the way from, Genesis to Revelation. So I popped off. And even though I knew like it was getting to such a built place with all the posts about the online current events. And I have some friends who haven't figured out quite yet that I'm off of the politics train. And it's really easy to want to like get in my flesh and answer certain things or just take the time to reject certain things. But I've felt the need to like really pull out because I'm telling you, I don't think I've had a choice but to stay in my feelings. And this is when I talk about being at a state of weakness and then realizing that we are in a state of weakness because when I make these episodes, guys, I do get tired sometimes. And I really know that that's a spiritual thing against me. So I don't post the thing that I have to post. Like I already know what I posted the other day has people ticked off coming to me now where I need to keep posting on it and keep pushing and pushing. But also God showing me that I am just as susceptible to getting pulled into emotional drama stuff, and I needed to delete that lady a long time ago. Her James post, it's like a to-dos, right? Like watch your tongue and faith without works is dead. It's just the law, and the law kills. Honestly, guys, it's the same spirit that is with my mom. It's the spirit of religion. It's something that now I am so sensitive to that I can't help but have a reaction where it literally rattles me, but my senses go out the window. So it's like I have all of these things I want to say, and I'll open my mouth and it'll just come out like a big mess. And part of it is accusatory because it's like it almost seems like on purpose they're beating the sheep. The minute I was like, I can handle Facebook, and it wasn't even about the CK situation, but it's this whole CK situation has really allowed people, like I said, to want to start really putting their flesh on display and, vain jangle and all their babblings and all of their self-deceived works that they think that they're, accomplishing here. Of course, I think I just hit my limit and I hit record and share and looked a little cuckoo. I'm sure like I was accusing them, these kinds of Christians, of looking gross to non-believers and honestly to some believers who know that works in the flesh are just ew. They're called filthy rags. What I felt like I was trying to flip tables. I'm half in like I felt bad, but half in I don't feel bad because they're making merchandise of the saints, you know what I mean? They're just like, get your attendance into church and, empty your wallets and pay the pastoral system, keep our church going, go out there and get more peeps so that we can keep our church going and keep you self-deceived that you're really, improving your dead carcass that was crucified and that we can really animate it. You can dress it up and it'll be so nice. And we should be focused on that and not the actual evidence that we crucify ourselves daily and don't look to the flesh for any indication about our fellowship with God or our spiritual condition. We trust in the goodness of God, and it's very possible that we do pop off and flip tables and say things that have an effect on people. I really don't want it. There was that time, like I said, that I didn't want to reach out. I didn't want to do anything. But God puts this love for the brethren and love for the truth and wanting to hold on to the truth, to contend for the truth in my spirit. And I have no choice but to respond to that and show up. I looked cuckoo after my little social media thing to people who weren't believers. Part of the process and our growth is realizing that God wears out the outer man, the Jillian that used to rise up to an occasion, rise up to fight, have the right things to say at the right time to say it now gets all jumbled and my system goes haywire and I'm absolutely exhausted by it. Last night I decided to watch the movie The Way We Were with Robert Redford and Barbara Streisand, which I own and I've watched a handful of times. And it totally tears me up every single time. It is a beautiful love story. A lot of frustrating components to the movie that I could be here all day to talk about. But the one thing I'm going to say is I definitely understand what it's like to be a Katie girl in the sense where like your hair is curly and you're also more difficult because you have your opinions and you feel like you need to stand up and stand for the right things and have convictions and all of these things. And I remember when I first watched this movie identifying with Katie a little bit, and an all-American guy, Robert Redford, who everything came easily to him. He was a beautiful specimen, right? And they're star-crossed lovers and they end up together, but they always get wanting to pull apart because she can't stop the fight. And when I first watched that movie, siding with her on feeling like Hubble fell short and didn't give his end of the deal. But after all these years, when I watched it last night, guys, I see it from Hubble's side of view where he was right, where he's like, it's not worth it. Like it's nothing going to change. Like we think we're fighting for free speech. It's never like we haven't had free speech since forever. Like we're wasting our energy and time on things that don't matter when she could have just stayed in Malibu with him and like basically submitted to her husband. But ultimately, the point is I agree with Hubble now, where it's like you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And politics is far too serious and far too arbitrary and not something that we're supposed to be really caught up in. And it goes against our flesh to feel that way because we really feel like in our flesh that we can do some good and save the world and all that other stuff. But we have really big egos in our flesh, no doubt about it. So anyway, honestly didn't expect when I picked up the microphone last week that I would have so many episodes popping out left and right. I wanted to just talk about it because there are times where I feel in weakness as soon as I hit upload, guys, and I get in my feelings and scared too, just because you want to not shrink back and you want to proclaim truth. There's that side of our flesh too that gets really scared, and God does come through and comfort me eventually. But it's been really, really up and down here. Like I said on my story, there's stuff going on behind the scenes I'm not really ready to talk about quite yet. But I will tell you that pulling myself out more and more, like more and more from the Facebook doom scrolling stuff. And if it's like if I have content, I need to post it and get the hell off there and only interact with people engaging on my stuff, or I'm really doing a great job blocking a lot of accounts that I followed. I never thought I'd see the day where I would unfollow some big name accounts. You know what I mean? I told my husband, I don't even want to know what's going on in the world anymore. I'm really feeling that again, where we withdraw, we go hide in the forest and learn how to live outside the matrix because it's just not worth it. That's how it got started too, was I said I wasn't going to doom scroll after that last episode, and I doom scrolled, and all it took was that one picture, and that spirit that's behind her post triggering me to make me react in a way that makes me look crazy. It is what it is, you know what I mean? But it was a righteous anger moment because I am a beaten sheep. I am a very beaten sheep, guys. I can't stand it anymore. It's like you can't take another whipping. I know there's people out there like me that need that assurance that they're not alone and that they need people to speak up about error, because there's things to learn from the book of James, but I guarantee you it's not really mainstream as far as why that book exists and how to look at it in the context of our Christian life, and understanding the times and the place for things. And it encourages me that I also have so much to learn. My spiritual life is an onion and it has lots of layers. I'm probably on like layer 2, but it just shows me that there's a lot I have to learn. But if people had that kind of knowledge in the church, it would change the trajectory of so many believers, because people are literally under that false gospel of the James people with their version of Christianity. Like I heard it said by a brother in Christ, that it's like Virgin Mary is to the Catholic Church is what James is to the, quote, modern day church. Their idolatry on worshiping James in his book without really understanding anything. But that's what they count on, our like sheep, right? That are ignorant or unlearned or just brainwashed or whatever. Today, tomorrow, it'll be a week since everything went down. And again, this actually kind of threw me back to a 2020 time where I went into a slow and steady little circulating moment where you're like, things feel off. Life doesn't seem real. We're experiencing reality shifts for people. We're seeing things from people. And I'm grateful that it took me less than a week to come out the other side, that God has brought me out the other side of not getting sucked in to the emotional zone, and also doing just enough damage to myself to keep myself on my podcast page, contending for the faith, exhorting you guys to contend for the faith, because as far as me doing it out there in the world where these wolves exist, like I can't hang, because it just stresses me out. But in my own way, marking and avoiding, keeping my timeline clean of that stuff, learning to always have that sharp ear, listening to people's profession of faith and testimony, and always being ready to cross that iron with somebody when they have a problem with me. It's really not with me they have a problem with, it's the gospel. It's the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, and that being not just the payment for sins, but our justification, our sanctification, our access to all the spiritual blessings in the heavenlies, that we're dignities now, that we have authority in Christ. We could go on and on and on. And that is the reason why. Nothing that we're doing, nothing that we've done, nothing that we're gonna do. That's the good news, and everything else is muy bad news. Anyway, just trying to make this like a quick little trilogy for this last week, right? Like a quick 3 episode week. What? But Jesus take the wheel. Jesus took the wheel. Jesus continues to take the wheel, right? So I don't know when I'll be popping in next, but I hope in the meantime that you are still continuing to labor to enter into rest. Continue to rest and grow in that grace that comes freely. And it's in the overflow, and you need to guzzle it. You need to partake with a thankful heart and partake boldly. So, the Lord is working on me. I never said I was perfect, never claimed to be, but I am claiming that Christ was perfect. And he is my justification to follow and pursue peace in this life and do what I gotta do to heal, baby. Right. So I really hope that despite it all, you've heard my heart, even in times where my flesh has gotten my way, where maybe I sound prideful and maybe I put my theoretical spiritual foot in my mouth and, whatever. But I hope you know that it's never in the art or the sense where it's kingdom blocking and blocking people from the grace of God, from what you have in Christ. I hope you know that because that's my heart for the brethren. It's hard. Sometimes I get a little salty because I was beaten so badly that it's hard for me not to mock or call crap out. But it really is the subtle difference that implies a lot, and I'm willing to be dogmatic in the sense where I'm gonna make sure we're speaking the same language, or yeah, it's you're out of here, right? Like I ain't got time for that. I don't have time to argue with people against the grace of God. I just won't. I just don't even want to. I won't even entertain it. Let's just chill in the river and be okay with that, right? So be blessed. Love ya.